Now, the city of Tshwane may soon get a deputy mayor. That's if the DA-led governing coalition gets its way. But opposition parties in the metro are opposed to the move, saying officials need to instead focus their attention on the crumbling service delivery. Well, joining us now in the studio is ActionSA's Dr Nasiphi Moya, who will be contesting for the position. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming in.
Good evening, and thank you for having me, and good evening to viewers at home.
First and foremost, how did you convince the DA to have a deputy anything? The DA doesn't want a deputy anything. They don't want a deputy minister. They don't want a deputy president if they could have that. They don't want a deputy anything. They're saying government positions are bloated.
Yes, so this decision was actually taken in November 2021 before we got into the coalition. And there was a principle behind the decision which was shared by all coalition partners, which was to say we can't continue as if we have one dominating party. We must share. We must co-govern. So it came from that principle that the role of this position within a coalition is to co-govern and power sharing. Yeah. That's how we convinced each other to say, why would you want to burden one person who's the executive mayor with the priorities that the coalition has, while the executive mayor can actually delegate some of the priorities to another coalition partner who's not necessarily a DA person in this circumstance. Yeah. That you then have. And then it just happens that ActionSA was the second biggest party, and that's how we got the position.
Brilliant idea if we were having the executive committee system. We don't. We have an executive mayoral system. And so the Municipal Structures Act doesn't allow for that, actually, because the responsibility is really on the mayor. So how do you plan to share power with the mayor? What would give you power to share with the mayor?
So the legislation does allow delegations, which is what MMCs have. For whatever powers that MMCs have, those are the delegations of the mayor. So this won't be different. So whatever these priorities which I can share with you, they will flow from the powers of the mayor, which would be sub-delegated. But to take it further, so within the city, there are governance framework. So you encode in the governance framework, so you are able to align it and harmonize it with the priorities of the city.
So why don't you appoint as an MMC? Why deputy mayor? Well, just make you an MMC of MMCs if that's what you're supposed to be. But why? Because a deputy mayor, when you read what a deputy mayor is supposed to do, the deputy mayor only acts when the mayor is unable to act.
Yes, but in this circumstance, we as the coalition have insisted that it should not only be about acting when the mayor is not there. Yeah. We do have priorities which are very crucial to the future of the city, as well as serving residents of Tshwane, that if the deputy mayor can be seized with these responsibilities, the coalition can get to achieve the objectives that we've set before we came in.
So I don't know how it's going to work. You are saying, for example, in your statement that part of what you're going to do is oversee service delivery at regional level, which is essentially that you're going to be, I suppose, coordinating the work of MMCs, which have been deployed into regions. So are you going to be the boss of MMCs? MMCs also serve at the behest of the mayor, don't they?
And the mayor is going to delegate that.
So the mayor is going to give you that power?
Yes.
Okay.
To coordinate the capital projects, which are from different departments. So those transversal functions that are infrastructure, development, repairs and maintenance, the mayor will delegate that to the deputy executive mayor to say, while I'm seized with other priorities, please take care of infrastructure, development, repairs and maintenance, and coordinate the MMCs together with the relevant officials and make sure that those priorities are carried out.
Yeah, and how you do that while you're still keeping an eye on social development, which is, you're saying, where you come from?
No, the position was from my colleague had that position, right. So I will take over from her. So
you will be taking over the portfolio of social development now, yes. While you're also looking at infrastructure. Yes. What's your background in those two areas?
So my background is political science. I've worked, so my expertise are mostly in local government. It's in managing political parties, the governance side of political parties. I've been in the city as the head of the Chief Whip's office, and my chief responsibility was to manage opposition political parties. Right. I've been the chief of staff to the executive mayor. So I understand both in terms of oversight as well as delivering services from an executive's point of view.
So you are saying in terms of the 10 MMC positions, there is no additional one that is being created. You will be taking over one of those that is currently there. However, you're going to require your own administration. How is that going to be allocated?
So what we agreed as the coalition is to look for no more than 6 officials to support the deputy mayor. Obviously, that will come maybe during the adjustment budget, which we may be quite late for that, but also during the budget down the line.
Yeah. So opposition parties have looked at that move and they're saying that move is quite insensitive because it's the words of the mayor. Mayor says, look, you cannot negotiate certain things. Workers wanted 600 million. He says, look, you cannot negotiate that thing. There's no money. 600 million is not there. So you can't negotiate money that is not there. We just don't have the money. Now people are looking at this saying, you're going to start a new office with your new 6 officials. Where is the money now going to come from? Because you just told us there is no money. Is that not a little bit insensitive to the workers?
It's actually not. And I think this is the point that we've been driving all along. To say if we understand the intentions of this position and the return on investment, if we carry this position correctly, there will be benefits that flow from it. And so basically the budget, we've even worked out the budget, but in comparison to the annual budget of the city, it's quite insignificant when you compare to return on investment, when you look at what this position can bring to the table with the proper support.
So give me one or two things. I mean, you're saying this will help us avoid the missteps that we've seen previously around, for example, worker strikes, which I've just mentioned, the Royal wastewater treatment plant. How would you have approached that differently if you were already a deputy mayor?
I think there is a need for a forecast in terms of what, I call follow the money. That constant following up on the projects, on the budget, on the ground, not only looking at what the administrators are giving you on paper, they will come as a Section 71 report, but there's no one that is dedicated to make sure there's a political principal that is senior enough that can summon MMCs, that can summon councillors, ward councillors, that can get and interact with community members, but they've got the authority.
Okay. So you're saying the mayor is too overwhelmed. You couldn't do that in terms of, I suppose, his schedule?
I wouldn't say he's overwhelmed, but it would help him greatly if he has the support. Yeah. And yeah.
Hence, people are not convinced. They're saying it's just a political arrangement. You've managed, as actually they say, to be upset enough with the DA for them to say, all right, we'll give you this position and just let us do what we are doing.
Yes, and I understand the skepticism. I do appreciate the skepticism, and I think it's up to us then to prove to the residents that there's value in this position. Obviously, I would be lying now to say tomorrow this is what we'll do, but I do think that with opportunity to demonstrate to residents that actually there is a need for this position. I mean, the MEC agrees with us. He signed it off. Yeah. With all this noise that's happening, the MEC appreciated that. He called for the same in Joburg because he understands, I appreciate, that the need, especially in a coalition setup.
There's a huge investment, for example, that needs to come into the Hammanskraal water situation. The mayor has been driving that alongside the Minister of Water and Sanitation and other role players. Is that now going to be your function?
One of the main, yes.
Yeah, and what is your plan? What's your big plan for that?
Well, the plan is simple. There is money that needs to be put there, and the president even announced that this is the amount that is going to go into Hammanskraal. That money must come to the city. That money must be budgeted for. That project, which I understand has stalled again, must continue, and there must be constant push from a senior political leader to ensure that happens. Whether the delay lies with the officials or with the community, someone senior can go in there and unblock those the blockages in the system in order to get that project going, because I don't think people of Hammanskraal can wait until 2026 for that to happen.
Are you not concerned that you are being given a poison chalice here? I mean, for example, you look at Hammanskraal. Hammanskraal has been going on for 15 years,
yes.
right? It has not, no one has been successful in cracking this and getting it right. And you're being brought in, and one of the things that's been put on your table is go and deal with this situation that no one else has been able to deal with up until this far. Is this not going to short-live your political career, before it even starts?
I don't think so. I do think that, and I appreciate that Hammanskraal water, I mean, even when I was an official in the city, that has always been there. And one thing that we've been testing is whether there's a political will to deal with the issue of Hammanskraal. There are many other issues that are attached to that, whether it's corruption, whether it's people wanting water tankers. There's a lot of challenges in that space. And I do think that at some point, someone must try for the residents of Hammanskraal. So if it's a poison, I don't know. I think for me, what's in my heart is that it doesn't sit well with me that there are fellow residents of Tshwane that can't drink the water from their taps. So I've been given an opportunity. I have a interest and will in my heart to do something about it. I will do my best to try and get that resolved. Obviously, there is a whole team around me. There's an MMC, there's administration, there's the executive mayor. So it's not only me who's going to go and say, no, it's a Nasiphi project. Definitely not. But someone at some point must speak for those residents, and I think I can do that.
Have you spoken to Mr. Mashaba? Has he given you some advice?
Yes. Yes, he has.
You know why he resigned from the Democratic Alliance, right? Because he says he lost the support of his caucus. Whenever he wanted to move budgets to previously disadvantaged areas, they didn't give him the support, and he eventually felt frustrated.
Yes. Well, what the advice he's given me is that the party leadership is 100% behind me. They've been giving, we know what the mandate is because I am for the party, I am part of the team that oversees coalition. So since 2021. So it's not that I'm new in the space of what does ActionSA want from a coalition. So I've been part of that. And one thing that has been said by him primarily is that we must go and serve communities. It's not going to be easy, but let's be out there. Let's fail. If we fail, we will be trying. So that's what he's been saying, and simplified it basically to say, listen, I'm not expecting a lot from you. You know the legislation, what it says. Understand what the city's plans are, and go do your best. And if you need support, the party leadership is 100% behind you. That's the conversation as far as it goes. But from an ActionSA's point of view, since 2021, there are priorities. Rooiwal is number one. We've had, for instance, issues with Mamelodi flood victims. Yeah. That's right there as well. So there's a couple of projects like insourcing.
There's the road situation.
Yes, yes. So the
waste that is not being collected.
Exactly. So we've had key priorities from an ActionSA's point of view, where during budgeting time we would go to our coalition partners and say, this is our submission as a coalition partner, obviously from a coalition structure's point of view. So I'm pretty clear in terms of what ActionSA is looking for, and I think I'm humbled by the fact that they have afforded me the trust as well as the support, because obviously this is not a one-woman's show.
Are you clear on what the implications are of the role that we will play, albeit maybe we don't know when the elections are going to be? They could be announced to be in the next 4 months or in the next 5 months, but a lot of people will also want to pin how you perform in that role, should the council vote you in, to whether or not they will put their cross on ActionSA.
Yes, and it's a huge responsibility to carry, but I do appreciate that's what it means. That whatever, and it's something that I've been saying to colleagues even before my name came up as a nominee, that whatever we do as ActionSA, in whatever council we're at, whatever we do, that's the story that we're going to tell the residents in 2026. That's the story that my colleagues during the campaign for 2024 must tell on behalf of ActionSA. So I know that now that applies to me now to say, if we get this right with the coalition, at least we have a story to tell residents to say, give us a chance. Coalitions are not as messy as you think they are. But if it fails, which is not an option in this case, yes, then I understand what the implications are, not only for me. and not only for ActionSA, but for the residents that that we've been promising what the benefits of these positions are going to be.
You believe that even at national level, coalitions will work?
You know, in all honesty, Thabo, it's not even an option of what I believe in. They must work. The era of having one party dominating in South Africa is coming to an end, and rapidly. So it's up to them, whatever bloc is. I mean, you have Joburg, they have a bloc, Ekurhuleni, they have a bloc of a coalition. In Tshwane, we have our own, in like all over the country. And I think wherever there is this, because a multi-party system, that's what we have in South Africa. And it's not bad, because then you get to have the representation of the different pockets of voters that would have chosen whatever party that they want. And so for me, it's not even an issue of, do I think it's going to work? It must work. They are difficult, I won't lie. It's difficult to manage because the people that you are governing with are the people that outside the coalition meeting, those are your opposition parties. And you can't hold back and say, I'm not going to hit IFP because they are our coalition partners. The responsibility is that if they're doing something wrong, we must hit them because their voters must know that this party of yours is... So I'm just making an example of an IFP. Yeah, so I do think that there's more... to benefit from having coalitions than one dominant party. And we've seen the negatives of having one party dominating. And one thing that I like about coalition, and it's not only in our bloc, where we can call each other out. We've had things in Joburg.
Oh no, you have called each other out very publicly. We know about it.
Yes, but we do plan to do less of that because it's very destructive and disruptive to the program of government. There's nothing to be benefited from that. I think coalition partners are matured enough and leaders are matured enough to understand what's at stake. So I think also that's one of the mandate that Mr. Mashaba was like, enough with the fighting. We only focus on servicing the communities, but the fighting cut. Yeah, that's where we are.
Dr. Nasiphi, Moya, we appreciate your time and we wish you all the best. We'll hope the councillors are going to get behind you.
Thank you.